Well, today's the day, everybody. We're going to plant those potatoes. What's the date? Hey, it's Memorial Day today, the 30th of June. About time we get some potatoes in the ground. It's been so wet and cold, we never had a chance to do it. But today, we're going to put them in. Come hell or high water, we're going to get them in. So, we're going to open up the shed. We're going to get the old potato planter out. We're going to plant them mechanically. We used to do it by hand, but it's more fun with the planter on behind the old Minneapolis Moline tractor. Here it comes, the Deere and whoops. Okay. The Deere and Webber planter. Now I know this thing's older than I am. It's a very unique planter. It's a Deere and Webber. Deere and Webber was McCormick Deering, and Webber was some relation to him and went in partnership with McCormick, and they made these things. Anyway, it's very unique. This hopper you fill up with potatoes if you want to plant, you know, acres of potatoes, and it automatically feeds them in to the planting section. And down here it's fingers that pick up the potatoes and drop them in. And there's a set of gears so you can put it to space your potatoes anywhere you want them. And I just leave it sit the way it is because that's the way I've always planted them. But anyway, you set the depth, and it drops as this thing is turning. It drops those fingers pick up those potatoes and drop them right down in the chute, and they go down in the ground where there's see it on the bottom, there's kind of a V plow. Actually plows a furrow down here, way down on the bottom. It plows a furrow, and the potato drops in that furrow. Well, now we got to cover that potato, so on the back end are two big discs, and when this thing is level and set, these discs turn and they hill that potato right behind, cover everything up. And a guy could sit on here if he plants 100 acres, but I'm not gonna. We're just gonna put in a couple rows. We'll see what happens. Okay, before we get that R Moline out and plant potatoes, I want to give you an update on the garden, what's happened so far with it. Now we've planted our onions back when. We've got 3 rows of sweet onions and yellow onions, keepers. And one of these sweet onions is supposed to be an all-winter keeper onion too. The radishes are all up, the lettuce is up, the beets are coming up, dill is up. And then we put the tomatoes in. We got six big boy tomatoes. And then I ran all over the country looking for my favorite, which is the Brandywine, an old heirloom potato, or tomato. And I finally found some, and you know what? I had to travel about 50 miles to get them because I always buy my plants from the Amish farmers out here, about 5 miles away. And they got a lot of greenhouses, but this year everybody seems to want the tomato plants and pepper plants, and I had to drive halfway around the world to find them, but I did find my they call them pink tomatoes. They're great big tomato, big beefy, very little acid. Perfect for eating. I don't know if they're so good for canning, but the wife cans them anyway, and we have no problem with them. So I got about 8 of those in here. And then I planted some crabbies. They're not up yet, just starting to poke through. And I planted some, what do you call that stuff again? I can never remember. Broccoli. I planted broccoli here. I got six broccoli plants in here. Over here we've got cauliflower. I don't know how many of them I got. Then I planted cabbage. I'm going to make a lot of sauerkraut this year. The wife doesn't like sauerkraut, but I'm going to make it. I got a big crock and my big cutter, and I'm going to make a lot of sauerkraut. And then the other day I went out and I couldn't find any pepper plants, and here they are. I found some nice big plants. I got them from the Amish, and they look real healthy and they're growing good. So, well, that's the the first planting of sweet corn is up. The second planting, I dug it up. It's got shoots about 3 inches long. It should be up tomorrow if we're lucky. We get a little heat. It's been so darn cold. So if we get these potatoes planted, then I'll put in my squash and cucumbers and the vining crops. We plant butternut, acorn, and zucchini. Why, I don't know. We plant zucchini, but wife eats it. My garden looks kind of weedy. I tilled between the rows already, but you know what? Back in I think it was 1960 or 61, the county agent stopped in, and he told me, and I believe I was in 4-H at the time. Anyway, he told me that ground that doesn't raise weeds can't raise vegetables. So I know I got good ground here because I got a whole lot more weeds than I got vegetables right now. But yeah, it's good ground and it's going to make some good vegetables. Now I'm going to set the depth, how deep I want them planted. And I probably won't plant them very deep. Let's see, I think we'll plant the... Let's plant the russets first. Now these potato seeds were cut and they're healed all up. We had them laying out for about 3 weeks now, and they shriveled up a lot smaller than I'd like to see them because some are going to fall right through, but that's okay. So I'm going to fill up the planter so the seed isn't very big this year. I'm a little worried about that, but I'm going to drive slow. Hopefully you'll be able to see how those fingers pick that up. Just intrigues me. And then while you're doing that, you can tell me when we start running out of seed. Boy, I hope this works. We'll go a little ways, then we'll dig it up and see how deep we're planting. Okay, I set the... Okay. Well, it's picking them up. There's one. Okay, now we're going to plant another row, and this one's going to be Kennebec. Okay, that's the row of 10 of them. Gotta cut some more seed. Okay. We're gonna go to the next garden. Sometimes if the shoe down here isn't built up, it should be shiny, but we don't use it enough. Keep it nice and clean so that it makes a nice furrow for them. When we first started, it made a wide furrow because it wasn't scouring. It's pretty good now, though. It's nice and shiny up front, so it'll be fine. Okay, we got to get some seed. I think Ma's cutting some. I've been driving tractors on this farm ever since I was old enough to stand up and run the steering wheel. And I think my dad liked that because the Molines had a hand clutch because my legs weren't long enough to reach a foot clutch. So it was my job to drive that tractor, and I just loved it. And to this day, I still love driving those tractors. And you know what? I thank God every day that I'm allowed to work on these old tractors and keep them running and driving them. The day we made a garden and I drove the 560, I drove the Z Moline and the R Moline. It don't get any better than that in one day. Yeah, they might not look so good, but they run pretty decent and I sure enjoy them. Well, there's times, you know, when you run something over and run something through a tire when you're trying to plant corn, and there's times when somebody, you know, tells you to do this and it's the wrong thing and it don't work, or when a squirrel drops a walnut in the tube of the planter and it's not putting in fertilizer, then I got a few choice words for the wild animals around here. Anyway, we should get back to planting potatoes. All we're doing is gabbing here. Now there'd be a good project for you. Paint up that Deere and Webber potato planter. I don't know, I used to heel them every year. I used to heel them, not quite as long as we did this year. I'd put sulfur on them. That was supposed to keep them from getting scabs, but I never saw any difference. Now, all my friends plant Pontiac potatoes, which is a red potato. They plant them in and they get them real early, new potatoes. But I still got potatoes in the basement from last year, so I'm more interested in having potatoes that I can keep all winters. And you can't keep the Pontiacs, you can't keep, so. All right. That's the depth. Make my day. did a good job. There's none laying on top. It's got a nice crown on the hill. I think it's going to work real good. Well, that ends our potato planting for 2022. Well, this has been another installment of the last year of planting a garden and potatoes. I thought I was done, but apparently I'm not. We'll probably do it again next year. Well, thanks everybody for watching. We sure enjoy having you, and we'll see you again real soon right here on Ozzie's Oddities. Thank you.